Hey everyone, how was your lunch? It's good? Excellent. Well, I'm here to present one of my favorite customers, Sean Harper from Janesville Public Schools, and he has an awesome presentation for you guys today, so I'll give him a big round of applause.
Does my mic work? Can everyone hear me? Anyone not sleepy from lunch? Anyone? Okay, I can see a fifth of you, just so you all know. I need to kind of gauge a couple things, so can I ask who's here from education? Everybody? And who's here from not education? And who has no idea what I just said? 4 of you. Okay, so I have a title. A couple housekeeping tips. This is an OS X self-service conversation, not iOS. Not because I don't like it, because I don't use it yet. For lots of reasons we can discuss offline. So if you're here to see about iOS self-service, I might not be your best friend. This is my personal workflow, so if you probably have a differing opinion than me, and that's fine. We can work that out too, but it's what works for me. Try to take what works for you and pull it out of it, not the whole thing as a package, because it's really insane myself. I don't even know why I do it, so let's go from there. Fair enough? That's me. I have a title. I really do, like the rest of education, IT staff, I have 16 hats, and it depends on which one's on fire that day. Everyone knows that game. So, why do I use the workflow I do? Let's talk about it for a second. I had a lead technician, Janesville, 14, 15, 16, 21 buildings, 14 elementaries with charters, 3 middle, 2 high. The rest are mixed situations. 500 wired Macs, 200 or so one-to-one type laptops, and then lots of iOS and lots of PCs, but that's a different conversation. So, had a lead technician. He was like a scripting god. Did most of the stuff with me or for me eventually, until he told me one day, by the way, I quit tomorrow. And it was, in education, this will be funny, it was July 1. For those of you not in education, that means I had a warehouse full of computers and I started to cry. So we had to figure out what to do. Process simplification became important because I'm 60% Apple and 40% network. Or if any of you are in network, that means I'm 600% network and I have other duties. So this also, we did at the same time, we did 500 access points, 3 new controllers, 2 new charter schools. The list goes on, right? So bear with me because I know it's strange, but I had to do it for a reason. I'm going to make this work, I promise. The agenda. Self-service is IT network storage solution. I'm going to kind of go over my biggest fear and what I cringe when I hear is a technician, a service staff member, a liaison for IT in the corporate workplace or in the education workspace says, I'd love to help you, but I don't have my hard drive with me today, so I can't load that program for you. Well, that's terrifying, because you might not get back there for like a week, or if you're me in July, a couple months, right? The next 2 pieces are kind of the meat and potatoes of the conversation, which is how I use self-service as a thin/modular imaging solution, and how I made that become Casper automated install imaging versus policy related, and we'll go over some enrollment hook triggers, things like that. And then self-service is a one-stop shop help desk solution. I guess the rules are, if you do 1, 2, and 3 behind me, and you're not then using self-service as a help desk solution, then why did you do all those other steps to make things in self-service if you're not going to use it? And I'll kind of talk about that briefly. That's an idea, but it doesn't always work out, right? Because that's our job, that's what we do. Okay, so Casper policies are a good file deployment tool. So what do I mean? Like, minus smart software and a couple other oddballs, we maybe have 40 packages that we install all the time on a new machine when we image it. Well, at the same rate, we have a lot of these installers on a hard drive or a USB drive because you might have to fix a machine quick that didn't get the install or the package is corrupt or who knows what. But trying to find that drive or having that technician, and if you are this technician, I'm sorry, who sits down and does the one machine and you plug in a hard drive and hope to be in front of that machine all the time, aren't you using time you could use somewhere else. And so what you can do is provide self-service only installs. What do I mean? Take a policy and you can scope it to IT only. So I'm Sean, and the guy gave me an IT account for self-service, and I can log in. Now I'm on 9.3.2. Most people on 9.5 and 9.6, I'm assuming. Can someone correct me? I guess there's a little button now to log in self-service rather than having the splash screen. Lots of nods, okay. In my example, there might be a picture of the splash screen, but that's because that's what I have. I guess it's less intrusive now. Is that a good statement? You can log in behind the normal session of self-service. Anyone? Okay. So if you have login enabled on self-service and you're a general user and you skip the login sequence, you get general self-service, right? Policies scope to the machine that's on or anybody. But if you log in as me or you or anyone else you've scoped that down to, you can give them access to specifics. And like, I want to run a simple script to open an application so that I can have interns help me do something, or your integrators in schools help you with something without having to know where it lives in the core services folder. These are examples. So, and I said, such as opening directory utility or screen sharing. Can you get there a different way? Sure. Is it worth walking all 4 steps to get there if you can click one button? Probably not, and they can see you using self-service. So I kind of gave an example of this. So this is and it's probably hard to see, I apologize, an IT-only install window. Everything from something that fires off my bind to Active Directory script, to opening screen sharing, to running my initial install sequence, anything, updating DNS. This is an older picture, but you can put anything you want here. Anything you imagine can go here, because only the members of IT that you scope these policies you can see them. Does that make sense to everybody? So how does that look? So this is screen sharing. It's the easiest example. I'm very confident in scripting, but I'm not here to teach scripting today. I can help with that stuff offline. So I'm going to show some simpler examples. And I do have one complicated script, but I'm just going to walk through it pretty slowly. So in screen sharing, which is a button that just says run, right? Let's back one page. Right in the bottom in the middle, it says screen sharing. Everyone see that? It just says run. So if you need to open screen sharing for any reason from any Mac and you're in IT, I could explain how to find screen sharing to an intern helping me out, or a student even. Or I just run a policy, which is open screen sharing.sh, which is a simple script I'll show you in 3 seconds here. And that's all it does. It's scoped to, in this case, 4 people, which would be myself and the 3 technicians working with me, or teachers, or IT liaisons, or whoever you have. Well, what happens here is it runs one simple script. So this is easy scripting, okay? The open command, it's really tricky, it opens things. And screen sharing app, open with an A flag will do the same thing. This simply finds in that core service folder the screen sharing app. Do you want to spend the time explaining to someone who doesn't know, for whatever reason, how to find it, or just tell them, open this and click the button? Probably a lot easier, right? And you'll not have to do that every time they have that question, or remind them if it comes up later. Well, extra transition, I think. So let's talk about what is the big deal with this presentation, which is self-service for thin imaging. Kind of probably what made most of you say, I wonder what he's talking about. The goal here is that I want to be able to have a machine. Let's say there's a lab. I do a mini lab in an LMC, the corporate world. That's advertising.new computers, right? Okay, it's a collection of machines. But I only have me, so I can't go do all this. Or rather, maybe I want to have someone from a different department, or like I said again, a student or an intern assist me, but I don't want them to have Casper imaging access, because it can get a little scary if someone else besides us who are a little bit in the control freak area want to touch imaging, right? So I wanted to be able to have that open self-service, and I don't believe in thick imaging since about probably 10.8 is when I stopped. 10.7 line, I was still kind of playing with a monolithic imaging or fat imaging, or baking an image like they do in the Windows world quite often, which is that big fat 30 to 50 gig image file, right? And then the thin imaging idea came up here 2 years ago, and someone said, you're getting an OS from Apple, and I do not hate PC, but I'll say there's no bloatware on an Apple like you'll see on a PC, right? It's usually a pretty modestly thin OS. It's not full of extra toys like AOL Instant Messenger installs, or whoever knows what else. CompuServe, buy it now, but whatever. I maybe had that job in one life. But if it's coming with an OS that's going to work, then why do we want to overwrite this OS? So we do a bit-for-bit copy of our OS. What do we change? Settings, the machine name, maybe we bind it, or we maybe bind it later to Active Directory or Open Directory, however you're doing that. Well, is that a lot of work? Even if you're doing Thunderbolt, isn't it still a lot of work time after time? Especially if it's just you. So now I'm not looking at, is it hard to image? Is it hard to image an entire lab or group of machines, or in this case, I'll show you also, those one-off laptops, because after we do a big deployment, we never get more machines till the next big deployment, right? Except for every Friday or something, hey, there's these 3 new machines we need imaged immediately. So how do we do this? How do we get them to this window where they're enrolled and someone can just modularly click packages? And I'll show you what that looks like. We need to apply basic settings to a machine. So for all practical purposes, you're sitting at your desk and a laptop comes in, and you have just a laptop in front of you we have to work on. You can in your head scale it to a lab and see how it works. Well, get it in the JSS. I think everyone here probably knows how to do that one way or another. I think there's 5 or 6 methods now. Quick add, recon, who knows what. You have to turn SSH on real quick on the machine, but we're not pushing an image packet. But we can, you could use Imager and install an image that doesn't have an OS, that's just a setting package. You could do that. Or run a script. I saw in a class earlier that someone ran a script that was buried in their var folder somewhere that also did that. It's the same idea. However you do that in your environment. What's going to happen is, once the machine's ready to go and it's in the JSS, it has self-service. So now you log into the machine in front of you, or if you're using it with a group like of interns or students, or you can make it available for everyone. If you're confident no one that isn't supposed to will not. Don't let people click the install buttons if they're not supposed to. I guess I'll leave it at that. But using smart groups for application presence and visibility, I have a lot of policies, like a lot of us might, like for Chrome or Firefox, that are going to install these if you don't have it or you don't have certain versions. Well, these smart groups are very important as well for that new machine, so make sure it's enrolled before anything gets kicked off, because if it's not, it'll start trying to do random installs on top of what's already there, or double installs where Firefox installs 16 times in a row. Trial and error helped me with that. Self-service bundle policies allow for auto installation. Let me show you what that looks like. What I'll say is that this can be any install you want. So this is an IT image install window that's available to, in the example, me or anyone like I've mentioned before. So I'm in a network that has gigabit Ethernet connections to the main office and distribution points in almost all settings, minus a couple of the elementaries which are slower. Packages like bind to Active Directory, that's a script, right? It's tiny, doesn't matter what your network looks like. If some of you have a very small network, or it's very congested, maybe you don't want to push CS6 over the internet, right? Or over the network at least. It's like 6 gig install, so it gets pretty big. Or if you do a whole lab at once, it can be very, very daunting. I wouldn't do that during a school day, during production hours, right? Okay. This is some examples that happen to be in that window that day, but the Flash one only appears if the machine is in the Flash group, needs update or whatever. It means it checked the version. I was going to talk a lot about auto updates and how to handle that too, but there was a keynote and they talked about this thing coming out where you subscribe and it does that for you now. So cool, I'll not talk about that anymore. But hey, if I just gotta push a button and not build these anymore, that's cool too. So let's talk about initial install. So a lot of those are single things. They could be single buttons that run a script, but initial install is not, it's a bundle. So I wanted to show you can do single things or you can do bundle things, and so I'll show that now. And what it looks like is, it does this Adobe, there's some AMI prepackaged, pre-flight stuff going on in here. If you never have to install CS6 or 5, never mind, but that's a different session. Some basic stuff that's gonna go on every single machine I ever image in my district, because I have an Office district license. I need the extra print drivers. Everyone seems to need Audacity immediately. Shockwave is fun. Notice that Flash isn't there because I can't update that as fast as Adobe wants me to update Flash. So I ignore that. And I do Flash as a different problem, right? Okay. So all this happens. So you're quite in that order. You hit this button and it will say, okay, and I have a pop box that says, are you sure you want to install everything that's involved in initial install so that you don't accidentally hit it? And then it'll fire all those through. Well, things you don't want to bundle. Office, Adobe, anything. Anything of size. And I know the Adobe joke is funny because there's all these other rules about pre-flight, post-flight, does the install complete, how big is it? But anything of large size, and I know Office is there, but Office is like 500 megabytes. But over a gig plus, you hit that button and self-service is just going to start chugging. And it's going to go through step by step by step. Self-service is great because it's a technician wrapped up in a little window, right? It's a GUI technician. It elevates to root, it installs for you, it does all the dialog boxes, passes through all the data for you, and then it says, and then it lowers back down to the user, and they can't override while it's doing this. And then in the little top window, it says completed or successful, or if it's me, it says failed, and you do it again. But maybe the network was busy, or maybe I forgot to plug into the network before I did it. Either way, I've made mistakes before. So if you want to do those, like you saw my Adobe was separate, my Office was separate, I don't care if you have a 10 gigabit connection between all your buildings. One, I'd like to work for you. But after that, it's a lot of data to move in a combo package because we're a little blind once it starts until it stops and says failed or succeeded. So, like I said, all of this showed up because I had no idea what to do. I had no technician. I had a loading dock with 400 Macs in it for that in particular refresh. I had another 100 laptops on my desk. Had to go to charter schools immediately because everything's an emergency, right? Not to mention that whole network job I have, that was important too. So, know that in my install example, I showed some print driver stuff, Office. It could be anything. I don't know anyone else's environment but my own. I can guess what all the education people are looking at, but it could be anything on the OS X side that you always use. And if you don't have to worry about those big packages like Adobe or Microsoft, God bless you. What I did is I kind of sat there and it was probably like 2 in the morning or something when there was a network outage, and I thought, how can I make this happen without me clicking buttons? Because that piece is great if you need someone to assist you. You want to do modular imaging without running Casper imaging, any of those things. But what if it's just me, and I'm so confident in my skills, I'm going to go ahead and run it all automatically? Well, okay. So I tried to play with it. I probably bricked about 4 Macs doing this, so take my advice as the final solution, not how to get there, and I'll explain that though. I want to note that step 1 for this is exactly the same as step 1 for the last one. We're going to have to get in the JSS. Again, avoid massive installs. Last thing is I'm going to talk a lot about a trigger for policies. Now, in a policy, we can trigger on login or log out or at frequent check-in, or there's one called on enrollment, and a lot of people don't use it or don't talk about it a lot, but I'll show you that too. So same thing, basic image settings, right? I need you to get the machine ready to do something. I don't care how you get it in the JSS. And it may be in some workflow environments, you have a small enough package load that you don't care, you just do it with Casper imaging. I get it. Or you might say, my boss, or you if you are the boss, because I really want to have all the same settings, because it's a Windows shop now, on every single machine, no questions asked, they're all baked exactly the same. This happens all the time. Okay? Maybe you push a monolithic image and that's a better solution. But I'm trying to show you alternative to using all that time. So again, throw it in JSS, however you get it there, it's up to you. Maybe like the email version, maybe like quick ads, maybe like recon. I suggest recon, you can walk away from it. Then you want to utilize Casper tools for hands-off. So smart groups, super important in this case, because now this is going to be automated, right? Now we're not touching it. So you can't be like, oh, I forgot to click that box. Now, however it functions that you make it, and I'll show you that, on the back end with smart groups is super important. So if a machine doesn't have Chrome, And you always install Chrome and Firefox and Safari still there and whatever else somebody wants tomorrow. But you have to go ahead and put that application on. But if you don't have a policy that checks if it's there, do you assume no one has it and overwrite it every single time? Or do you look and say, my policy is already doing Chrome somewhere else and it has a smart group called needs Chrome or Chrome needs update or whatever you do with that, and populate that group. That's what I would do. Have different install hooks working on enroll that also look in the same smart groups that your updates do. So I just talked about that. So let me show you. Maybe. Okay. This is a policy window. I've corded out a little bit, but on the trigger side, we've got startup, login, logout, network state change, and then two below it, but then enrollment complete. If you do not know, when you recon a machine, if you remove framework, by the way, this is the catch. If you remove framework from a machine completely and blow it away in a policy and then re-enroll that machine, that's going to start going. Because it's like, oh, cool, I have a new machine. I'm going to do enrollment complete. I'm enrolled now. Here we go. So note that if you do that with a machine and remove it, you're still going to be working with this policy doing what it wants to, unless that machine is in an exclusion. So if you do a lot of that, we'll talk offline about how to handle that. If you do just a few of those every now and then, add it to the exclusion portion of this policy so it doesn't action against it, and then you won't have to have that worry, and you can use the self-service, install what you need to. Because the benefit here is that this works on its own, but the self-service stuff that you maybe set up to kind of get used to doing this is also set up, and your other imaging processes, all 6 of them we learned about earlier, I think there's even more too, right? Whatever. So you can use any method you want, but just remember that this one will run if you do not stop it. Makes sense, right? It's kind of what we want to happen most of the time. So there's a button, enrollment complete. This is my terrifying but beautifully colored Active Directory script. What does this do? This uses Jamf Helper, if you do not know. Jamf Helper, in Casper imaging, there's this pretty black screen that says Casper's imaging stuff. I don't know what it says anymore. I haven't used it for a long time. That's Jamf Helper. Its job is to cover your screen and tell you what it's doing. You can quit Jamf Helper. I don't know if you all knew that, but it'll turn off. And then you're like, what is my machine doing? Because you don't know anymore because Jamf Helper turned off. You can use Jamf Helper. There's a lot of different commands you can throw at it. This is an API conversation, but it's a little more in depth. Anytime you see anyone do a presentation where they have a box that popped up on the screen for input, or a different screen than kind of what Jamf Helper produces, it's Cocoa dialog. It could be Jamf Helper, but not usually for input. Or it's I'm going to say it's so wrong, Pashua or Pashoa. Anyone know what that is? And these are like helpers. You install them deep down in like a var folder somewhere, and they come out when you want them to, just to provide a GUI to what you're asking for. So you tell the script. In this case, here's what happens. I run a machine through Recon, and I go walk down the hall and see what other fires there are. And I come back, and there's a box on the screen that says, what do you want my Active Directory name to be? So what do I do with this? Clearly, I just type in the name I want, and it goes and binds to AD. This is not a secret. What if I have interns helping me in a lab one day, and I do the whole lab recon at once? I just set them up, and they turn SSH on, and I just do the whole lab at once. I just give them a list of which computers named what, and they walk around and type in the name, and then it binds to AD. To them, it looks like the screen turned black, and it said done. Okay, I won. By the way, this also turns on root access for me with my password. It's not really stars like it is up top, but I can't tell you. It's a secret, right? It's a password. It's probably God or money or my cat's name. No, but the point is, this script fires every time an enrollment's done. And but here's the thing: if you don't want a machine to complete, in that script, I wrote error correction that says, if I close the box, then just don't do anything and exit. So if I run another machine, I go, oh yeah, oops, hit cancel. There are a lot of gotchas if you're not careful. If this wasn't Sean created, it would be Jamf feature number whatever and have a pretty label and an on-off button. And I didn't make an on-off button, so you have to remember to pull them out of that group. Well, that script looks hard to write, and I do not have that script currently up. If there is interest later, someone tell me. I can give an example of that script with my stuff taken out of it, of course, but here's what I do in my environment to make that work. It'd be easier than all of you writing the script again. I'm totally for information sharing, as long as I pull any data from Janesville out of it. Sound cool? Everyone want that? Maybe? Okay. All right, one clap. Okay. So, one guy wants it. Let's take a look. Here, this is a joke, but it's a good joke. At my work, there are 6,000 PCs, and we have the PC admin that one of us has met him here or somewhere else before, right? So he sits in the corner, and he's like, this is how we do it. We did everything 17 years ago this way, 17 years ago, and this is how we do it today. And there's no difference. And scripting and policy control, it's magic, which is what this is, magic, right? It's a Casper look, I'm cheating. So when I do this stuff at work, he'll tell me, smoke and mirrors, magic, whatever. Here's the point. If you don't have to do the work and it does it for you, your coworkers might think that you created magic or you did something amazing, but you're just saving yourself time, and that's the end goal, right? Save yourself time, or make multicolored smoke come out of your hand, whatever you're doing. Well, then the question becomes, now we did all this. We talked about, I don't want to have technicians and me with hard drives on me. Keep in mind, I do have a flash drive, and that flash drive has Smart Notebook 11.4, because I'm not automating that ever again. And I have Casper, whatever the current version is, so I have a portable version of Casper everything with me. Because sometimes the machines aren't on the network, and sometimes you have to touch it, but if it's not on the network, I'll fix that first, then use the network distribution points for help. I'm not going to one-off somewhere else. I'd rather everyone saw me using self-service. Well, we did all these steps I talked about, right? We worked on getting things as policies for self-service, even for IT only, but now people will see IT using self-service. And you can make your IT guys use self-service and they'll love you for it. Oh, just click on the button, you'll love it. And they're like, well, I can do it, I'm an IT guy. Yeah, you can click on that button and it'll do it, it'll be perfect. They love when I say that. So I say do things once and never worry again. The help desk phone rings and someone says, I need VLC, handbrake, and I don't know, something else, Audacity installed, even though I already installed Audacity. That's what they said, right? Okay, cool. So I'll show you that in a second, how that looks, but it's pretty funny. But if you place all these applications, like we said in the beginning, in self-service, next time someone calls you, how long is your phone call? Probably longer than I'm about to say, but it's 3 seconds long, right? Hey, how's it going? Okay, I can get that for you. Go to self-service, click here, click that instant, you're done. Truthfully, they'll want to tell you about their cat and their day, and computers just hate me. I don't know what they did to them, but they blame computers for the world, and whatever. This is kind of a joke too to us, because we're IT people, right? Training end users to use self-service. There are 3 opinions about self-service, and I'll tell you what they are. Opinion 1. This is where we all want to go, right? Awesome, I love self-service. I went there and I got everything done I needed to. That's what we're trying to make that happen. Opinion 2, that's not my job, that's yours. That's why you have an IT job, thanks a lot. Oh, I see, everyone is in that boat with me, okay. And opinion 3 is, yeah, I looked there. Well, didn't you see the, yeah, it's cool, I went there. I need your help. Do you know what self-service is? Yeah, whatever, are you coming? Because if they just push it aside, we won't have any idea what they're talking about. Okay. This is like I'm on a soapbox statement, but it's true. So if you force, that word gets scary for some people, I know. If you force self-service in some form down someone's throat, and I mean everyone, it will become the culture. Think about your help desk ticketing system. How many staff are like, yes, I'm going to open a help desk with whatever the 3 steps are they do that. I'm going to open a ticket. But they do it because then you call them and help them. And if otherwise you say, did you open a ticket? Please open a ticket. And then you stop talking. I'm not telling you people will like you in the first month. If you've ever heard a kindergarten teacher with screaming children call you, you know exactly what I mean. I'm not opening any self-service, that's your job, yelling and screaming, and words I won't say on stage, okay? So, but if your IT staff is using it, from example 1, you're using it in imaging, example 2 and 3, then just keep that going. And then the people that are your flag holders and they won't let go of the past, and they're like, no, I'm not going anywhere, it won't matter, because eventually they'll start seeing that that's the easiest way to get it done. It's kind of like when you get a call on help desk. If anyone else does this, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I'm gonna guess not. And they're like, hey, yeah, it's not about what I put in the ticket, but usually I get service faster if I put something that you're in charge of, so I put that on there. And you're like, so your problems with what? With your problems with, I don't understand, like your monitor? No, your smartboard? No, there's a chair broken in my room, but I never get anyone to help me unless I call you. And you're like, this is, okay. Same idea. Have them think self-service is the best place to go first. It's a technician for us to do work that's easy to do, but why? And it's a solution for them, and maybe they won't call you the 5th time that day for the same thing, right? By the way, how that looks is this. So just a multimedia section available to this current teacher. You can scope it to the teacher. You can scope it to every computer you want. You can scope it just to the user, depending on your environment. By the way, anyone that's like, oh, I like self-service, but it looks different. And there's a class this week, I don't remember when it is, but there's a lot of documentation about how to make self-service not look or feel at all like self-service. It looks and feels like something you built from IT, right? Companies in the room, you might have this problem where the uppers are like, it doesn't say our company right on it, so I don't want that. And it's not our company colors. You can do that. But if you update Casper, you will undo that, so you'll have to go back and do that. I maybe made a cool one once, and then I went, yeah, I'm not redoing that again. The 5th time or something. And you roll back, and anyway. So that's not terribly hard to figure out, right? Cool, they can go there and click install. You just have to get them there. If you don't make them do that, you know what, today I'll make the exception, or you do it for them, or you install it, I don't know, from remote or something for them. Now, you're still going to use those tools and stuff, but if you do it for them, they go, yeah, it's cool. If you call them, they'll tell you this stuff about self-service, and they just do it for you. It's fine. We know the culture. We all get it. We're all IT people, right? That's why we're here. So the last thing is, what about help? So you can all call me, but that's terrifying because there's a huge room of people here. So I wrote a script, and I need help. What do I do? I use a different transition here. I'm really proud of myself. That's what I just said, okay. Where on earth can I go to get help? And then I use the, okay. So, Jamf Nation, super, it's utilized, but I think it can be utilized better. But if we've all been on there, I want to mention one thing. There are those of us, like myself, a couple of people I will not name, although I really want to, that are really, really versed in bash scripting, for example. But there's always a post from someone who has 0 posts, and it says, I need a script to do insert gigantic issue here. Please help. And you're like, oh, I'm not touching that one until someone else does. I'm not even, like, I can answer your question, but I also have that pile of Macs on my desk, and I have the network thing, and my boss saying, is it fixed? Is it fixed? Is it fixed? The server's out, right? Is it fixed? Get away from me, I'm fixing it. Okay. If you need to do this, start slow. Remember my screen sharing script, which was 1 line? It was easy, right? Open the path to screen sharing, then .app at the end, because that's the real name of it. Okay, that's scripting for mortals. It's super basic scripting. I promise if you say, hey, I'm trying to do this, here's what I have, can someone help me out? Even if it's something very basic, you'll get a lot more replies. But I was watching it last night too, and I noticed it's like, please help me. And it's like this guy on an island screaming and crying, and it's like, we can't write a 4-page script for you, we just can't do it. So that's pretty much all I have. Thanks. Where'd Kelly go? Question and answer. So we have, I don't know, a good amount of time. Question and answer. I'm sure no one has any questions for me at all, though, in this tiny room of people. You can, I can say Mike, you don't have to unless you need to. So you have to call on people. Anyone have a question for me at all about anything involving self-service from my presentation? There we go, there's some hands.
What do you not put in self-service?
For whose visibility?
What would you say we should never put in self-service?
I don't know. I would tell you Adobe, but I did that. I'd say the same thing about Office, too. Some stuff, okay, here's the deal with self-service. How about I approach it this way? If you put everything in self-service, I did say your job gets easier and you have less time, right? But you have a new task on Mondays, or if Monday's like my Mondays, then you have a task on Tuesdays. you need to carve out an hour for what's called policy update time. Let's pick on Flash. Anyone okay with that? All right, so while I was talking, Flash had 5 updates. All right? We're on, that wasn't a joke, I was serious. We're on, I don't know, 15 dot, ha ha ha, dot, whatever it is now. So you put now, special note, Flash updates are only important when it's a whole number update. Safari won't care otherwise. Don't tell end users that. But if you have a Flash button that appears for people when their Flash is out of date, or just a Flash button that sits there, and you teach people to use self-service, and you updated it like, I don't know, 13 dot something, and it's on 15 now, and they're trained to go there, they're gonna start clicking the button, and then when they call you, they'll say, I clicked install Flash 15 times, it didn't work. So the key is, there's really nothing in my environment with my WAN links and the network speeds I have that I wouldn't put there. Keep in mind, okay, CorelDRAW and AutoCAD 6. These are examples of things that you, or okay, Smart Music or Avid, anything with an extensive licensing process where you have to actually draw your own blood and drip it on the keyboard. Remember, I said Adobe I have in self-service. You don't want to do those, but if there's a white paper on how to do it for installs with Casper, it's trickier. How's that for an example, right? If you have to AMI wrap it or something, okay. I keep making the joke about Adobe, it's terrible. They make Flash too, don't they? If you're from Adobe, I love you, I'm sorry. So, nothing, as long as your environment can support the data. If you have an example, go ahead, I agree. But anyone else? Questions? Go ahead.
How do you introduce new customers into self-service? I get a lot of calls about, I need this, I need that, and I say, you about self-service. The answer I get is, what is self-service?
Right. But the question is it, what is self-service, I'm listening, or is it, what is self-service, I'm going to stall you till you come here? Let's say you break down, because you have to, and you remote into a machine or something, or you go there. It depends on how much staff you have. If you can run to a building and help someone, you're my hero. Okay. Open self-service on their computer. Could you do it with remote in the background? Could you push it through terminal SSH? Whatever you're doing, probably. Can you open self-service and say, okay, now watch. Now, see that window I opened? Here's where I got that. Could you click on this for me? Make them do the work with you coaching like you're there. Because remember, the goal is if you just do it for them and they cannot look at the screen and walk away, the solution will walk away with, they won't pay attention. So is it easy? No. Everyone's going to complain, and that attitude of self-service is not my job, it's yours. Isn't that why we pay you? Oh yeah. If there's people above you, okay, like I have a CIO and a superintendent, they're right above me, right? They don't like when I say they should do stuff themselves ever. So there are situations where you're like, okay, it's cool, I'm gonna do everything for you, just go away. If the person has a title called My Boss, that might be a good idea, right? Don't ever prove that your boss is silly and should have pushed an install button because they won't like you for like a week. If you are a boss, be nice to people, they're just trying to help you. Okay. Is that clear as mud? Yeah, I do too. I put it in the dock and on like the far right side and I'm like, hey, see that weird multicolored thing? Hey, click that. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, there's like a flash button. Keep looking at it, it'll be cool. Oh. But general users should only have exposure to stuff in self-service that they can't break their machines with. Hence, the Adobe install is not visible to everybody, right? Not because Adobe installs badly, it's a different conversation. Because Adobe is a 6 gig package and self-service does things in this order. Always understand this. I pull the package from the distribution point or the Jamf one in the cloud, and it brings it down to the machine, and that you'll see a bit-by-bit copy bar. You'll see a solid bar. Then you'll see that barber pole, which means I'm doing stuff and I'll be done sometime. That's when the install sequence is running in the background. And self-service doesn't really know when it'll be done. It knew when the copy would be done because there was so many bits left. But the install is like, when it tells me it's done, I'll tell you it's successful. It works. It's terrifying because even on my network, it takes 12 minutes for Adobe to install. I mean, you got to know what you're doing when you do that one. More questions? Water. Well, and that's
Show them that's there. And the excitement on their faces when they know it's 2 clicks, 4 clicks. And so now that they go there, they're more. So that's one way to get it.
I'll note on that real quick, actually, if I ever get through my transitions. Okay. No. I have no idea where I am. Okay, so here's the deal. Self-service has your self-service stuff, but on the, usually it's by default, on the left-hand side, right? The like web links, things like that. So to allude what he's saying, I have a web HTML5 version of my ticketing system. It's really just a pretty script, but it looks like the ticketing portal on their PC. That's there. Link to their Google Gmail stuff is there. The Janesville School homepage, that's there. So everything they use every day, they can just open from self-service. So then self-service is already open. Makes it harder when I update something and they need them to find it, but they just quit and come back into self-service. But yes, you can put links in self-service to goodies that they want, like a web page or Bennett Campus or Skyward or whatever your SIS is, or Salesforce for the guys in corporate here, right? So something they're going to use, and then they're more apt to be in that program. Questions? Here.
On the Flash thing, there's a really neat script on JNUC.
There is.
Bandwidth that he'll run, he'll check with the W directly through this version, very install, download it, and install.
Yep, and I do run that script for the camera. He said that on Jamf Nation there is an Adobe script somewhere that goes out for Flash, finds the newest version of Flash, downloads it, and then through Creative Smart Group use, you can apply that to machines that need the newer version. You would need a script to read that version number, apply that version number to the Smart Group as a refresh, have the Smart Group be populated. Here's the thing. Remember I said about Jamf Nation? Someone already did all that. I will, fair warning, I just got an email about distribution rules and the website for distribution is changing for IT admin Flash packages, not that installer that normal people use. They have to click buttons and not install toolbars and stuff, right? So watch out if you already use that method. There's a gotcha there. They're going to be changing that distribution location. By the way, I did that for Firefox. I check for the new version of Firefox, applied the new version to the Smart Group. That all happens automatically for me. But there's also a time when I open a machine, let's call it after the Mavericks upgrade, when they changed in Darwin what the eject, the invisible partition argument was, and I had 600 partitions open for Firefox that were invisible. They're like, why is my machine not working? I'm like, I don't know, let me open disk util. Oh, okay, I'll be right back. Secret note, ejecting 600 invisible partitions, far slower than hard power off or reboot. Okay. Don't ever do that. Yeah, but then I just changed the line to match Mavericks, and I'm sure Yosemite will be perfect. Not change anything for me. Questions? You have another one?
On the Yosemite screen sharing app, they've changed it.
I know. Yeah, I know. My buddy used to, hey, this broke. Hi, thanks. I have a presentation on that tomorrow. I'll bring it up. Maybe I won't bring it up. That's where it is in Mavericks. If you want to find it in Yosemite, you jump right in. I am what's called a late adopter. This is a Jamf joke. Kelly used to call me the Janesville bug guy because I'd call him and be like, so I'm in beta, and then I early adopted to 9 the minute it released, and the JSS is broken for the following 6 reasons, only if you do these sequence of events in this exact order. And so I call and she'd be like, what'd you find, John? I'm like, hi, Kelly. Yeah, what'd you find? Okay, so we're at that point now. So I'm a late adopter, which means I'm locking out Yosemite until I say so. Is that a good answer? Hey, I want Yosemite, right? I want the new stuff too, but I upgraded to Mavericks on my 15-inch MacBook Pro Retina, and I lost WPA2 Enterprise access on my laptop till .2 came out. So that's cool. If someone else find that bug, Apple can repair it, then I'll take it. It's fine for now. It's a time issue, right? Questions? Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Are you using self-service or anything besides configuration changes?
As far as like API-driven configuration changes?
Other uses besides software?
Give an example of something awesome that I could do. I like self-service.
Software updates or more on the side of
Yes, okay, so I do about half of what you just said. The admin stuff, although I learned in education, I just feel better not giving them admin rights and teaching them, it's a different story. I figured self-service will become the admin instead of them. I don't like to empower users that I can't give power to every 5 minutes unless I have to, because then they expect that to be what they get. That's my environment specifically. I do have that script that allows admin access, things like that. What he's showing is that there's a huge thing you can do with self-service, and I have covered a small amount of it today. And again, my workflow was weird, right? But it got the job done for what I needed. But there are other things you can look at for sure. That guy right there can help anyone that wants to know about that. No, just kidding, I'm sorry. I can't, by the way, I can't see up there, so if you have a question, you kind of have to be rude and just yell at me so I can deal with it. Any more questions at all? We have time, it's okay. You're all 100% confident. Hey, so yeah. Hey, so on that note, and I'm going to birdwalk back to the comment where I was confused.
Sure, that was really funny, but a lot of us can't hear it at all, so.
Oh, what he just said? Then I'll go back over it. What he did say, and I'm going to go back to the other opinion that the question I totally missed because I'm sleepy after lunch, maybe that's why. Am I doing anything else with self-service? What he said is they're doing stuff like, hey, you're having a problem? Cool. Click this button. It should fix everything. And what does it really do? It restarts their machine. And so that's surprise. That laughter's yours, not mine. To answer the other question that I kind of passed over because I was a little confused where we were going, I got it now. I had my aha moment, I promise. Am I doing anything else besides package stuff? Yeah. So if anyone was here the last couple of years, you've seen like different presentations on, oh, you're having problems with that? Well, click this button. It'll send me this nice little zip file of all the logs and wireless stuff and everything your machine's doing. These are all up by Andrina, I believe is her name. If I said that wrong, I'm sorry. Bell Media in Canada, I think is where she works. She's not here. I haven't seen her. If you're here, say hi. There. Okay, she's not. She did a great session last year about that, and it's exactly what we're talking about. It's like some of your log files, or she wrote a backend script to change the ownership permissions on a new external drive if someone got it, or a new internal drive. And I'm just kind of going out of nowhere, but I do all of those things, but I didn't show those here because I was mainly trying to address the imaging point of view. But yes, self-service, you can do tons of stuff, but always remember who is your scoped audience. And I mean that because if you select everybody, or you don't check the once per computer box, then you're going to have a really bad day, right? So, any other questions? Or jokes I can tell after you're done so that I sound funny? Go ahead. Not as much as you think. Less than an hour a week at most. And that's assuming that Adobe joke is true and it updated 3 times today. On the occasion, I'll be fair. When Mavericks hit, right? Well, that broke a couple policy scripts. Not the policy, but some scripting language changed a little bit in terminal, and what are you going to do? And you'll learn really quick that something went wrong, right? Sandboxing, guys, test environment, do all that. Other questions? Easy room. Go ahead.
How often on your self-service policies do you leave it ongoing or just once per computer in case they, in the middle of installing something, just shut it down and walk off? And now they're at home, and if you're not doing HTTPS, you're doing AMP.
Okay, that's a good.
If you reinstall it, it's screwed up.
In self-service, you can, when you click the install button or whatever you make that little button say, install, right, run, whatever you make it say, you can make another window pop up. I'm aware that no one reads pop-up boxes, right? What happened to your computer? It said something, something, something. Well, what'd you do? I pushed OK a bunch of times. It could have said, I'm going to blow up if you push OK, and you hit OK. But they do it, right? I do say, do not cancel this install for any reason. Do machines crash? Do people cancel? Yeah. I've been dealing with that. My fleet is smaller, and I have very few machines that walk off the reservation, and I'm constantly scanning for like flash versions and smart groups, and you can usually see when a policy failed out, right? Or if you have a flash policy to update automatically in the background, and you make flash available in self-service, and they try to install flash or self-service and it fails, the other policy, the history has not shown that it's completed or failed yet, so it will still action against it as pending. Flash is always once per machine in both policy stances, but it actually doesn't even appear inside self-service unless it's in my group that says you need a flash version update. I figure I'm doing it 2 ways, and you can probably still mess it up, but then I'll deal with it later. So is there a foolproof way? No, when Jamf picks up my idea and goes, cool, and they make it a feature, there'll be a checkbox for that, but I don't have it until then. But it's not the easiest thing ever, and sometimes you do have that headache. I'll give you that.
I can tell you in our environment, we're 100% notebooks. And to be perfectly honest, I get maybe a ticket a week out of 400 users saying I tried to run this self-service, it crashed, can you make it appear again, and you flush the log in the month. Like, it's not that big of a deal for our environment.
Time to live on a self-service operation, you say install this script, and it goes and finds it and starts doing it. It's a long time, right? Self-service will try, I think it's like 5 minutes before it gets communication back. You want to test this, unplug the network cable while it's doing it. But I get maybe a ticket every 3 weeks. I'm like you. Now, most of my fleet, unlike you have 4 times the remote machines I do. Most of mine are wired in labs, right? But do users turn them off, unplug them, do whatever they want, see that I'm doing something? Yeah, all the time. Go ahead.
What's the worst mistake you've ever made?
Oh. Okay, this is fun. A little history real quick. I started at Janesville 1 week after Jumpstart was done. And they went, yeah, intern guy / temp guy that was doing your job and was here for Jumpstart and talked to Jamf 100 times, knew what was going on. You're fired. And here, Sean, here's your new job, go. Where's my desk? It's underneath those 985 iPads that we haven't deployed yet. And we've all touched them 6 times. And no one knows what's happening in the network, and you have like 100 tickets. Super cool. So I'm like, all right, I'm learning on the fly. This can't be too hard. I'm learning how things work. I'm going to use Composer and package Chrome. Did it, no problem. It's a long time ago. Yeah, whatever data you found, that works fine for me. Accept that, name that. I want people to use this. And I read about this self-service thing a little bit, put that in self-service. And suddenly everyone had my bookmarks and was changing my web pages. Because I installed my profile inside their profile. Because, hey, fill user templates, fill the skeleton, whatever. For those playing the home game and don't know what I just said, fill user template says, you're already a user, even the invisible ones under 500, like launch daemons. Here you go. Now, every time you start up, this is your profile. Sean Harper's profile with his web pages, which are always work appropriate. Right. So, and then the bad thing is it's in the skeleton too, or what is that called in Jamf? Not fill user template, but fill existing users, what I just said, and the user template is the skeleton. The skeleton, sorry, I'm a Linux head. The skeleton is the piece in root that lives deep, deep down, and you say, I'm an English customer, I want to make a new user, and it goes, okay, all users get this default set of things. Yeah, put it in there too, just in case I want to make any more users anywhere, they can all have my bookmarks. And I say bookmarks like they didn't like randomly uninstall extensions and my screen was changing and I got some kind of My Little Ponies background for Chrome theme. It was super. By the way, we have like 1,000 Chromebooks. They all had mine. It was, just kidding, they didn't install there. Good thing. So yeah, that'd be my worst mistake for a lot of reasons. Was that a good tiered answer? Because I made like 9 mistakes. And then I went, I don't know what happened. It's Friday, right? I really have to go. That took like a week to undo. By the way, nuke everything for Chrome and then reinstall Chrome. Makes people really mad when it's happening on their computer. I sandboxed in against, I don't know, 1,000 machines. Don't do that ever. Sandbox against your machine and go, oh, that's my Chrome. That's bad. But no one else can ever do that now because I told you how scary it was and how everyone saw my browser history since the beginning of time because I never clear my browser history on my work machines. Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead.
How do you deal with users that are trained too well, and when there's an update for something, they go right to
In Apple language, that's called a swimmer. This is people are on the island holding the flag. They're flag holders. I'm never changing. Then you've got the shore watchers looking for sharks. Like, well, I could change, but I want to make sure it's okay. And then their change management answer for people who are like, man, right now, train too well. I like that wording. Or I want, right? They're swimmers, right? They're all trying to swim to the new island immediately, even though a shark might come and eat them. Pair them sideways with a flag holder and be like, yeah, I'll get there. Hey, can you help so-and-so with this problem they're having? And do whatever you can to divert their creative energy away from, oh my God, Flash had an update, to, oh, I can help you with that thing. They just want to be important is what's really going on. Or you can try and explain to them why they don't need the new, now it's been 4 versions of Flash, by the way, since I've been talking. They don't need all those, but they won't ever get, I've learned that don't fight that battle because you won't win. Divert their energy somewhere else. Yeah, put them in your beta group. Hey, you want a sandbox for me? You're like, yeah, cool. Okay, then they call you, and then you know everything that went wrong right away with your image. Because they call you, hey, remember how I was on updates? Yeah, well, this is broken. Okay, cool, thanks for sharing. That's a good answer, thanks. Anyone else? Maybe 4 minutes, we can call it if no one else has anything. Okay, thanks.